Live with Joe and Cody. I am Joe Skipper, the owner of Skipper Realty Group, brokered by eXp Realty here in Oregon, and I am with my friend and lender, Cody, with Residential Mortgage. Hello, sir.
Joe, how you doing?
Good, good. I am. I enjoyed the ice storm for the first day, but kind of it's getting old now. We just had school canceled again today,
Yeah,
so
it's a
and I
little more
just
fun
got.
when it's snow, not ice.
Yeah, I prefer snow, but the kids, they didn't care. They just went down the hills on ice, and they thought it was
Yeah,
more fun because it was faster. But
right.
I did see your wreck. You ruined your
Oh
kid's
boy,
sled.
I
Like,
just busted that thing up. Eli was setting it up. He was making a nice little jump there, and once he got it worked in pretty good, I'm like, because he'd start about 10 feet behind the
yeah.
jump, and I'm like, dude, you got to just bomb this thing. Like, here we go. I did it, and I was like, this is not a soft landing like
Dude, that
this.
was some air. That was
I
definitely
know it.
some air there. But that
It was
those plastic sleds just don't do it.
I told him, I was like, I've
Uh,
got one try at this because this is probably going to hurt bad enough that I'm not going to want to do it again. But the kids loved
and
it. Like that's all they did was just kept going down that. And it was fun because, around here, we don't get enough snow typically to
yeah,
really do a whole lot. So it's kind of
for
nice to have
sure.
it for a few days.
Yeah, it was nice. I just saw something just before we went on that it was like there was potential for a little bit of ice again today or this
Oh,
afternoon.
really?
I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
But we might as
Here
well
we
just take
go.
the week off. They've been off anyway, so
No
for the
kidding.
whole week. So why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
But hey, man, I just wanted to see if you have any quick updates or anything on the lending side of things, or any mortgage rates
hmm
predictions, or what's going on, or good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah. So we had a good round. Like in December, we made a good push for the rates coming down, and since then they haven't gone up a lot necessarily, but they have kind of inched their way up slowly. So nothing that's big. It's just like we had a good rally there, and it got stopped fairly quickly. So we've lost a little bit of ground, but overall, it's still kind of the same. A lot of speculation, a lot of
Yeah,
trying to figure out the timing of it, everything. Like we've talked about before, election year that will obviously kind of create some different drama within the markets and everything. So I think early on, a couple weeks into the year, I think we're more or less picked up where we left off. Just I think we've kind of ended our rally temporarily. So,
yeah.
but
Is
the
there a
outlook is
meeting
still the
coming up
same.
anytime soon with the feds that may
Yep.
or may not change things?
Yep. The talk right now is March, when they're kind of expecting that the Fed may drop rates for the first time. So that still seems to be kind of the plan leading up to things. So yeah, they'll meet every month, and then but the expectation is that March, that's when everybody seems to think that it will be the first time that they do get dropped. So
Nice, nice.
we'll see. We're
We
always
will
hopeful.
see. Yeah, yeah. I've got anecdotally, it's just, I think the new year brings in a little bit of, just general optimism from people. So I have had people, more buyers kind of entering the market on my end, and also some sellers that are like, okay, it's time once spring hits, let's get
hmm
moving, kind of no matter what's going on. So, but the
Yeah.
election year, it'll be interesting. I saw a thing recently about the election year and how the rates always drop like during
hmm
an election season. I don't know if you know much about that. I saw a blurb on it. I think it was a buddy of mine doing his podcast or something, saying
Uh-huh.
something about like every election season it drops. And so I don't know if
Yeah.
I haven't
It,
looked into it enough to have a say.
I don't know either. There's some stuff that I kind of nerd out on, and others that I don't. But like
Yeah.
that seems to be the case. I do know that back in what are we in? 2024. So it was 2016, I think it was, when Trump got elected. The rates actually took a jump,
Hmm.
because there was an expectation that the economy was going to change and it was going to get better, and yada yada. So there was a big spike there for, I don't remember how long it was, but it was enough to kind of shock the market a little bit. Like, oh man, well, wasn't seeing this coming. But I mean, it would
Huh.
make sense that there would be an improvement in rates in an election year, just because overall, you're, I would think for anybody who's trying to keep their job, like you want to make things look as good as possible
Yeah,
prior to the elections happening. So
for sure.
Yeah, we'll take it. Might as
Well,
well.
cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, we wanted to talk this week about a little bit about investors. Like I was saying, I have a couple buyers that are looking that are now, either a couple are kind of veteran investors that use terminology that a lot of people have no idea what they're saying, and sometimes even I don't. But there's just a lot of terminology out there in the investment game, and uh, what different calculations or different percentages that people use to determine if a property is a valuable property for them, or one that's going to make them a good profit or not. So I wanted to go over a couple of those. I don't know if you want to start us off or if you want me to get going and then you can close it out.
Yeah, jump in.
Okay, well, we have such a short time. 15 minutes goes by
I
fast,
know
but
it does.
15, 20 minutes. Maybe we'll go to 20. But I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about the 1% rule. And it's kind of a little bit deceiving because it's not necessarily a rule. You've heard of the 1% rule?
Uh huh.
Yeah. So it's basically what it is. A lot of investors will use it as kind of a starting point for whether a property is worth it or not. And basically, what it is you take the value of a property, you multiply it by 1%, and that theoretically should be the monthly rental income, the minimum rental income that you should receive, or the minimum monthly rent that you should charge for a client. So, what investors will do is use that as a quick calculation to determine, is this even a viable property, to do further digging into the investment. I think it's an important one. I don't think, again, it's a general guideline. I've heard of places like San Francisco, New York. They have super expensive properties. And if you use the 1% rule, it doesn't make financial sense using the
Mm-hmm.
1% rule. However, if you use some of the other terminology and the other things, um, the other calculations that they use, they could be really good investments, even though they aren't meeting the 1% threshold. So, anyways,
Yeah.
just a general guideline. I just wanted to cover that if you do hear the 1% rule, it's not necessarily a rule. It's a guideline that investors use to determine, do I go forward even looking further into this property, or is it completely ridiculous? Let me see if I
Yeah.
can share my screen here.
Which I feel like our area too, could, depending on where you get to, and obviously the idea of investing is making as much money as you can with it. So looking for some of those lower price points that you could maybe turn around and get more dollar out of. But yeah, I mean, it'd be tough. You're buying
Sure.
a $500,000 home around here, and
Yeah.
the expectation of being able to rent it out for 5 grand is
Yeah.
maybe kind of tough, but
Yeah,
you
for
find
sure.
something for low threes, and oh, there we
For
go.
sure. So I just got onto arrive.com. It's a good website that gives you some rules and definitions and things. Again, anything is on the internet. So if you have any questions, there's tons of stuff besides Cody and I, if you want to ask us, but tons of stuff online that can help you out. But this was like a great example. So you purchase a property for 140,000. They do say to take into the renovations. So if you buy it for 140 and you put 10 grand in, it's now the purchase price would be 150 when you're doing this 1% calculation. So if
Mm.
you're to apply the 1% rule, the minimum rent price you should charge for the property would be $1,500. So it's just a good guide for investors to look into it and say, hey, is this worth it? But you'll hear that word or terminology thrown around a little bit. So that's one of mine. Should I keep going, or you got
Yeah.
something? Okay.
No. Hit me with another one.
I know you're fascinated.
Well,
Let's
yeah, it is always interesting to me though too, because as much as I am an investor in the sense that we have a couple rental properties, I'm not a investor. Like, I don't have that same mindset.
for
So
sure.
it's always interesting to learn more about it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people do just kind of use generic, they do use their own calculator. They say, hey, this is what it's going to cost us. This is the rent. And it's good. Like I think you get to the end point. I do think
Right.
there's valuable tools though that make it quick,
Mm-hmm.
and quick and easy. So I just wanted to show one of those. One is that's used a lot is the cap rate. Let's go to that.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Omni Calculator, and it's a free thing. But basically, this will tell you everything about a cap rate. Now, a cap rate is used quite a bit by investors to determine if the home that they're investing in is worth it. Um, Basically, this will tell you everything. So it's basically the rate of return on a real estate investment property. So they use the example of an apartment for $100,000. The cap rate is 10%. That means that each year, 10% of the initial investment will return to you. So a lot of investors will use these cap rates. This is a great calculator for that. Let's just put in a property of 500K. Did I have enough zeros there? I think I did, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't see.
Oh, you
My
can't
eyes
see
are
it?
too bad. No, I can
Oh,
see
okay.
it. It's just small enough that I can't. I don't have
Okay,
my glasses
okay.
on.
Okay, so let's just say that, you charge $1,000 a month, so it's gonna be $12,000 gross income on the property. Your operating expenses, you can say they're, 5% operating expenses. You can do whatever you want. Vacancy rate, some people do 2% as kind of a standard. This one is obviously showing a 2.2, and it just calculates your cap rate. A lot of people are wondering, well, what's the cap rate? What is a good cap rate? 2.2 is not a good cap rate. What I've seen is Oregon, I think Portland has an average cap rate, I want to say 5.4% of a cap
Okay.
rate. So some people, everyone has their own definition of what they think or what they want in a property.
Hmm.
Investors that use the cap rate, it's at least 5, and then they would like to get higher, like an 8, 9, 10% cap rate. That would be big for them. So just
Yeah.
something to consider. One of the calculations you can consider when going forward. Um, yeah, that's what I have for you. Those are the two of the kind of the big ones that you hear thrown around: the cap rate and the 1% rule for investment stuff.
Well, and that stuff I think is really important too, because for somebody that maybe doesn't know or they're just getting into it, it's at least like you said earlier, they're at least just kind of a guideline. It's just something to base it off of rather than just, hey, how much do you think we could rent this for? And how much money could we make? Okay, great. But then with a lot of this stuff, you start to dive into it and factor in the different expenses and are you managing it yourself or is a property management company doing it? And are you factoring in that there's, going to be potential months throughout the year where it's not occupied? And, you start really breaking it down. And I think it's important because you look at the monthly and go, great, I could make X amount of dollars per month, but you start to factor in all the other
No, for sure.
miscellaneous. The water heater goes out. The roof needs to eventually be replaced. All these different things that, somebody might say, well, a cap rate of 2% or 3% sounds good to me, but then when those things do hit and you go, oh man, that just wiped away like 2 years of my rental income for
For sure.
this one thing. But
Yeah, we like did the same. I think we did what everyone does, when you first get started, and I think we still kind of do to a certain extent. We kind of figured what your goals are. Like for our property here in Wilsonville, we just wanted to pay the mortgage,
mm-hmm,
and so we didn't care necessarily about the monthly income that we were getting. It was like, can we get a renter in to pay the mortgage? So it's all
mm-hmm,
dependent on, and it worked, and that works because to us, it's like someone else is paying into that, building us equity over time. We don't necessarily need the money. We don't need $500 a month in excess, rental income, things like that. So I think a lot of people
right.
get into that, and that's based off of upgrading your home. We went from a
Mm-hmm,
townhouse to a regular size house, and so you're like, do we sell it or do we, you probably see the same thing a lot with your stuff as people are asking,
yeah.
can I qualify without it? Without selling my townhouse or my apartment or whatever, or can I
Mm-hmm,
keep it and use it as rental income?
yeah. Yep. I mean, that's what we did. We just bought a primary residence and lived in it for a couple years, fixed it up. And when we were ready to move, we had been fortunate enough to save the minimum down payment to get into the next place and rent it out. And so part of it's just kind of the experience and learning as you go. But I think, real estate, obviously we're in this business, so maybe a little bit biased, but I feel like real estate is such a solid investment over time. Yes, there's highs and lows and everything, but like even when you look at what we're going through right now with a really slow period because there's just fewer buyers, the house prices really have not come down like what everybody was
Mhm.
anticipating. I think there's the big expectation that housing market that is down is 2008 all over again, and it's just not the case. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to have some times, and maybe rent's not always um, as high as it is right now or was a couple years ago. But overall, is it paying your mortgage? Is it because if so, then you have somebody else that is creating equity for you,
Yeah.
and you're giving
Yeah.
them a place to live.
For
I think
sure.
that's another thing that kind of gets overlooked with a lot of stuff is you're providing a place for somebody to live that otherwise, maybe there isn't a spot for them, and it's a
Yeah.
pretty cool feeling um, to have people that are thankful to live in a place that you have.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. So I would suggest if you are looking to find a calculator or finding good resources, what we use a lot and I use a lot still is biggerpockets.com. I don't know if you've heard of Bigger Pockets.
Hmm.
They have a
I like the sound
podcast.
of it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They have a podcast that they have that's really good information. Have some successful investors on there to kind of help you with whatever. They have calculators. They have properties that they have on their website. They just have a lot of resources. So if you are either a achieved investor or if you're a newbie, it's a great place to get started to kind of see how it all works because it can seem overwhelming, but it's not rocket science. It's just kind of
Hmm.
like anything you do. It's if you're not familiar with it, it looks overwhelming, but there's a lot of resources out there. As I just went on a couple websites super quick online and found a cap rate calculator that can help you out. And even in that article that I read, it has the same. It tells you what an average cap rate, what a good cap rate, So
Mm.
you can really
Nice.
utilize a lot of resources. But Bigger Pockets is a good one if you out there haven't seen it, or
Uh-huh.
it's a good resource for you. So
Yeah. Quick little note on the mortgage side of investment properties for anybody that is looking to dive into it. Most investment properties are going to have a minimum of 15% down. If you currently live in one and you're looking at converting it, there isn't anything that you need to do. You don't have to reach out to your lender and say, "Hey, I'm moving. This is going to be a rental." It was your primary. You lived in it for 2+ years. Like at that point, there's nothing that needs to change. But um, I can't remember if I talked about this before a couple months ago or a month ago when this came out, but Fannie Mae just recently is now allowing 5% down for up to 4 units as a primary residence. So if you're thinking long term, maybe you're going to live in one of the units for a couple years, and then once you're ready to move out, you now have 4 rental properties. I would say if you're somebody that's looking to get into it, definitely start to do your research and figure out the best way to get what you're looking for, because it's not just always 20% down, great credit. That's the only way to do it. Yeah, that's kind of the normal way to do it, but there's also other opportunities and ways that you can go about it that might be able to save you a little bit of money out of pocket.
that's great. Well, cool, man. You want to talk about venture? We're starting our podcast. We're starting to throw out the
Mm-hmm.
emails and interview times and things like that. We're super excited about it. Look, we even have nice. We're getting new equipment. We're
I
becoming
mean,
like official podcasters. We have the same matching light, like color. We didn't
we're
even plan
growing
that,
up.
but you have the same. You like were feeling me because I put on
I
purple.
was.
You put on purple. Man, we
I
are on the
know.
same page. But yeah, we're gonna do venture podcast here coming up shortly. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got a lot of good guests that are already booked.
Yep.
If you guys are thinking of getting on, or you're nervous to get on, or you just don't know if it's meant for you, reach out to Cody and I'm sure we could find a spot to kind of chat and talk. We've just got, I don't know, I'm pumped. We've got a couple cool guests coming on so far. Well, we have quite a few guests, but a
Yeah.
couple of really exciting ones and some that we're going to have a lot of fun with. But anyways, yeah, you want
Yeah.
to give your pitch?
It's exciting. I mean, it's something that we've been talking about for a little bit now, and it's just like a lot of things, you throw out the idea and it starts coming together, and then you realize that there's a lot of stuff, a lot of
Yeah.
legwork, a lot of things to be done. But I feel like we're making really good progress. And like I said, we both have microphones now that are not just associated with our phones. Like
I
this is
know,
the
it's
big leagues
crazy.
now. So
I know we're making it big now. But no, it's
yeah,
been a lot of fun and we're looking forward to it. So yeah, if you want to be on the podcast, if you have a story that you want to tell or you think that it would be important to share, please reach out to Cody and I. We would love to have you on. Yeah, that's all I got for you, man.
yeah, I love it. We'll
Okay, well,
see. Maybe
until
we'll see the
next
grass
week.
again here soon.
I know. I was pulling out today. I was the reason we're doing it Thursday is because I slid right out of the driveway with the truck because it was, it just looked like it was fine and it wasn't. 4-wheel drive doesn't matter when you're sitting on ice.
When
Like it
you're
doesn't
on
matter.
ice.
It just means all four wheels are going to be spinning out. So
Yeah. Yeah.
learned
Not
that
quite
the
as
hard
fun.
way. Okay, cool, man. Well, have a good week,
Awesome.
and yeah,
Yep. You
we'll
too.
chat with all you guys next week.
Sounds good, man. We'll see you.
Okay.